you guys missed it, Dana White is in Serbia for the Belgrade presser, and one of the things that came out of this was Dana White getting upset with one of the reporters and their question. We're going to watch the clip here, courtesy of Happy Punch, and then I got my take on this and kind of my take on media day in general when it comes to how the UFC does things and all that, as someone who's covered a bunch of events. So let's first hear Dana White basically roasting this reporter for his question. Let's have a listen.
Who's got the first question?
Question for Dana. Which fights on this card are you looking forward to the most?
that is a shitty question, my friend.
Yeah, I know.
I love when you guys ask me that. Yeah, I'm very excited. Let's be a little more specific, sir. Try again.
Okay, so I think Dana could have handled this better. It was not a good question, in my opinion. I don't like the general questions that you get at press conferences. And I've done a video on this, or I think I did a video on this like a year ago, talking about why so many bad questions get asked at press conferences. And basically the summary of it is the UFC really only cares what outlet you're from. In a lot of cases, they don't care who's asking the questions. So you could be from a great outlet, but you might not know anything about MMA, and you're just going to get people asking ridiculous questions here. But saying that, Dana White should have been like, listen, this is a great card. It's underrated. Like, one of the criticisms of the UFC and Dana White over the last year and a bit, and more than that maybe, is that Dana White doesn't do a good job of promoting his cards. How hard would it have been of him to say something along the lines of like, look, I think this is a really underrated card. There's so many fights in this event that I don't think people are giving enough credit to. And then maybe just list one or two fights. Like, just as an example, I think this fight's really good or that fight's really good. Dana should have done that. I mean, this does not make this isn't getting people to jump out of their seats and go get up early on Saturday to watch this card from Serbia. So Dana could have handled this better. With that said, though, what fights are you looking forward to on the card? Kind of puts Dana in a bad spot too, because what if he mentions a couple fights and then he doesn't mention some other fighters? Are those fighters going to feel kind of bad that they didn't mention his fight? Not to mention, it's just a very general question. And I agree with Dana. Get a little bit more specific. Talk about a fight specifically. My whole thing is, you got this opportunity to ask a question. It's not like media get like 10 questions, once they get the mic, they get maybe one or two questions. Asking a promoter what your favorite fights are on the card, to me, is like a third and fourth question, maybe at the very end. But I agree with Dana here. Get a little bit more specific. And this goes along the same lines of when I hear media say things like, how does it feel to be here? What are the emotions being on this card? Just like general, we don't get nothing like much out of it type question. I would only do that if it's like a situation where you're given a fighter and you don't know anything about them. Sometimes UFC at press conferences or like media days and stuff, they'll bring up like a random fighter that you didn't even know was going to be there. So sometimes you're out of questions and maybe you need to throw like a general question that way. But you got your UFC credentials, which is hard to get. And this is the question you're going to ask. It's like, I think we could do a little bit better of a job. And like I said, it has more to do with the fact that the UFC is more concerned about what outlet you're from as opposed to who's actually asking the question. Like, there's a lot of interesting things here on this card, and I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that's been repeated, like Daniel Rodriguez being in jail, like Euros Medic, like what a win would do here. There's a lot of things I'm sure that have been talked about already, but go through the card, try and find something that's a little bit different, ask something that's gonna spice things up a little bit more. Not spice things up and like trying to get a bad reaction here, but try and ask something that maybe would get like a good clip or good response. You don't want to be that guy who asks a bad question and kind of goes viral now. Like, just having a quick look at this card, I was just trying to think off the top of my head. Like, asking like, what a win for Navajo Sterling would do if he beats Jan. Is he going to get a title shot? And would that complicate things with his teammate being the champion right now? What do you think about, Alexander Rakic moving up to heavyweight? I don't know. Like, I agree with Dana that things could be a little bit more specific on this card and give us a few more interesting things to ask. But Dana's also got to do his part where you're a promoter. You got to promote the fights. Like, too many times we've seen Dana announce cards and go say something along the lines of like, all right, we've got John Silva fighting Diego Lopez, number 4 ranked, like that type of thing. I remember back in the day, Dana would be like, we got an awesome card going down at the Apex tonight, whatever, all that stuff. I just think there's like, if Dana's not going to put a lot of effort into promoting his cards, get someone else to do it. Even like get like a Nina Drama, even just someone a bit different that's going to be a little bit more amped about talking the fights. This doesn't help out anyone, but let's read some of the comments. I don't think I'm alone here. Again, you're going to get sort of the mixed responses here from the question itself. It says, how do some reporters be on the big stage and they come up with the dumbest questions? Like, again, I agree that this should have been a more specific and better question. What would be good from people to write here is, what would be a better question? Because I think that's also a thing where you get a lot of fans being like, I could do a better job. And it's like, okay, what would you ask? And then they're like dumbfounded that you turn the tables on them and they don't even have a good question to ask. So there we go. Why are they having a press conference for all these cards? Well, I think because Dana's there, and it is kind of interesting that Dana's there for a pre-fight presser. Actually, for a fight night card, you don't really see Dana doing pre-fight pressers. Maybe because, I'm not sure. I actually don't know the answer to that question because Dana knows none of these fighters. That's true too. UFC's so dead. Dana doesn't see who the PSYOP is targeting now. Dana's the GOAT. Dana does not care anymore. So you're seeing sort of mixed responses here where people don't like the question and they don't like Dana's response to it. Got some quotes here. Asking the promoting god of all UFC a layup of what fight he's excited for and getting the deflecting response of this is a bad question. Legit proves how exactly completely clocked out Dana White is with the UFC. He doesn't know one fight on this card. I mean, that could be true too. I mean, I don't think Dana doesn't know one fight on this card, but I bet if you ask Dana, like, what are your thoughts on, Mark Vologden and Nikolic, I don't think Dana's going to give you a good detailed response on that one. I think that's probably true. Someone saying the Mr. Press Conference, literally one of the only normal press conference questions ever. I mean, again, I think the question could have been a little bit better. How press conference feels since press conferences go, Triple C isn't around. I mean, I don't agree with that. UFC media retarded. Bro asked the president of the company if there are any bangers on this card and got flamed for it. So yeah, that's true. Again, could be asking some better questions here, people. So yeah, I mean, I just think like you got this opportunity. It's hard to get UFC credentials. I've talked about this before. Like I've had them for a while, but it's usually going through another company that I've worked for to get the UFC credentials. I have a little video of this on my channel, by the way, of how to get UFC credentials. People always ask me how they do it. Oh, I have a big YouTube channel. Yeah, that doesn't mean you're going to get UFC credentials, right? Like you can't just assume that. Now I'm accredited through my own brand and channel, but it's because I've covered events for so long. But for a lot of people, you need to go through another outlet or you got to know someone or whatever. It's pretty tough. But this is my whole thing. It's like, it's so hard to get credentials. And then this is your big moment and you ask them what fights you're looking forward to. I don't know. I just think we could do a better job of that as far as some of the questions go. So I don't even know who this reporter is. I wish him well. I hope he learns from this, gets better. You hate to be that guy at a press conference that turns into kind of like a meme, like kind of what this has done. But, at the same time, I think it's important to talk about this stuff because the thing that drives me nuts is you get the odd, a lot of fans are like, the media sucks, they're terrible. And they lump this guy in with like everyone else that's been doing this and ask actually good questions or, proper questions, right? Like, again, people can make mistakes. They can say bad questions, but like, I hate the brush that the media as a whole is bad. There's a lot of good media members out there. I talk about them all the time. Mike Heck, Dennis from Submission Radio, Nolan King, Mike Bond. You've got a lot of good people when it comes to covering the sport. I think Oscar Willis asks good questions. I can name you a whole football lineup of MMA media who do a very good job when it comes to talking about questions. But then you get one guy here and then everyone does the blanket statement of, oh, the media sucks, they're terrible. My whole thing is, if you're going to say that, fair enough, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Write in the comments what question you would have asked. That's all I'm asking for because there's not a single response here saying, hey, I would have asked this if I had this opportunity. That I would have more sympathy for. But saying the media sucks and just leaving it at that doesn't do any good. So yeah, there you go. Dana White. Not making the best. Some guy's day got made, but not in the right way by Dana White here at the press conference. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. What's your thoughts on the media? What's your thought on press conferences and all that? Let me know. I want to get your feedback on this. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram at Lynch on Sports. My name is James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.